Ever since Star Citizen has been a playable product, there has remained one constant, and that constant is the dominance of light fighters and the community who flies them, along with their unrelenting drive to keep that dominance intact. But that dominance is currently at risk of being lost. It's at risk of being lost to the capital ship and, more importantly, the PDC on the capital ship. Since the implementation of PDCs, light fighters have been completely unable to bully players who are inside a ship equipped with PDCs. Currently, the only ship that has access to the PDC is the Polaris and one of the Constellation variants, but with the rumors of a flyable Idris coming, the list of PDC-equipped ships is about to grow. In this video, let's try to understand why light fighter players hate PDCs, as well as capital ships, and what types of players enjoy capitals and PDCs. Players who fly light fighters will lie to your face and tell you that they don't hate PDCs, but rather think they should be something locked behind engineering or higher crew requirements. They don't actually believe this. They would prefer for PDCs or effective multicrew ships to not even exist. Their behavior is disingenuous and deceitful. If you play Star Citizen long enough, you will quickly realize just how rotten and conniving the vocal part of the community really is. This extends to both extremes of the PvP and PvE spectrum, but the real reason why these players hate PDCs and capitals is because they allow you, the player who doesn't want to deal with their annoying behavior, to no longer be a victim. It is the ultimate form of coming prepared or hiring an escort, as they so often tell you to do, while they mercilessly gun down your hopeless industrial ship that's just trying to complete a contract worth 30k AUEC. I can tell you exactly why I hate seeing a players when I'm doing PvP more than anything else in the game. I hate them because unless I'm in an A1, I cannot kill them. I cannot attack them. I cannot even approach them. They are off limits to me, and that annoys me. And because that annoys me, that is good. The sooner people understand that there will never be some magnificent balance that fully integrates light fighter players with capital ship players, the better. The two sides are completely opposite of one another in terms of skill, beliefs, and even ideals. The capital ship, right now, in its current form, creates a perfect divide between the two types of players. They are unable to interact with one another, and, as far as I'm concerned, that's great. This one is pretty simple. Flying a light fighter requires a tremendous amount of skill, effort, and time investment. You could even argue it requires additional investment into peripherals such as sticks, pedals, and eye tracking. Sure, some unemployed mutant with 12 fingers who lives off a steady diet of processed foods and sugary drinks may be able to, over time, compete with players who have the necessary peripherals, but that is the exception, not the rule. Because of these barriers of entry, a lot of players will prefer to be in the larger, safer, and less mechanically challenging ship to fly. They naturally gravitate to ships such as the Corsair, Constellation, or Redeemer, only to find out that they are simply punching bags for a single player in a light fighter. At this point, they either learn how to fly a light fighter, move up a class to capital, or quit PvP entirely. It is this imbalance, this unfair treatment and perceived neglect from CIG that causes multicrew players to absolutely hate and despise those who fly fighters. Hopefully, I've been able to illustrate to you the two very fundamental differences between these two sorts of players and why they never live in harmony with one another. One of the major complaints players have about capital ships is the PDCs. They make it so that you have a time limit in which you can engage the capital by yourself. You will never get through the shields, nor will you get through the hull and destroy the ship before the PDCs eventually destroy you. This time limit ensures the safety of the player in the capital ship from the tyranny of the light fighter. But what if I told you that they're not all that effective? That they're actually pretty weak and attack the wrong things? Let's roll some footage here and see just how effective these weapons really are. The first clip here is just a series of missiles being fired from a Firebird. Nothing really too remarkable. The first salvo, they all get intercepted. And out of second salvo, some of them get through. Working as intended. Here we're using the Gladius. I'm doing very basic evasive maneuvers, which is just, a barrel roll or a slow roll, whatever you want to call it. And so long as I keep doing this, the PDCs are going to struggle to hit me. And even when they do hit me, they don't do a whole lot of damage. Now, I could keep doing this forever, and if I did, the footage would never end. So let me go ahead and fast forward to the part where I stop being as evasive and just let the ship shoot me. Alright, at this point I have stopped doing any serious evasive maneuvers, and I'm allowing the players to shoot me. And even now, doing this, you can see that it's taking a long time for it to actually destroy my ship. In this one we are using the Hornet Mark II. What's interesting about this is I'm not going to be nearly as evasive as I was in the Gladius. And you can see just how much the Hornet can face tank these PDCs. Of course I have no chance at destroying the Polaris, but right now I can leave anytime I want. But I'm choosing to take this damage and stay within the PDC range of the Polaris. And despite that, and no real evasive maneuvers, I'm not really dying. I'm really not in danger. I can leave. But let's go ahead and skip to the end here. And then there you go. After a while, I'm finally popped. So here's the Ion. This is what you think would be the natural threat to the Polaris or any larger ship. The story is very much the same. The PDCs engage me, I take some shots at it, I have no chance of killing it, and I can still leave if I want to. The Ares isn't really any better or arguably any worse at attacking this ship. It's a bigger target, and it can't evade very well, so it does take the same amount of PDC damage. It's not doing really any better or any worse than the other ships. It just can't evade like the Gladius can or the Hornet can, and I'm not really trying to evade in this clip either. But this isn't really speaking to the power of the Ares, it's more to how weak the PDCs are. But let's go ahead here again and skip to the end. And here we have the Corsair. The PDCs simply will not shoot a ship this size or larger. Nothing much else to show. So, what can we learn from these tests? PDCs tend to favor the most annoying and emasculine threats in the game, those being lock-on missiles, as well as light and medium fighters. However, they ignore the more masculine and less annoying ships in a game, such as the Corsair and ships equivalent in size or larger. Sadly, they still target heavy fighters. The balance solution here is pretty simple. You keep the PDCs lethal and threatening to missiles, torpedoes, and any fighter below the heavy class, and have them completely ignore heavy fighters and above. By doing this, you create natural predators to capital class ships, and keep the light fighters away from the capitals. Due to the nature of PDCs and how they function, I firmly believe that all non-combat industrial ships should get at the very least one PDC. This gives those sorts of defenseless players a means to defend themselves and get away from threats. It isn't right that these ships are harmless punching bags which only exist to be turned into content for YouTubers and streamers. If possible, I would also support including PDCs on larger ships similar to how one of the Constellation variants has one. That size of ship and above are perfect for having PDCs and would better assist them in dealing with light fighters, which, let's face it, have zero issue killing even a fully manned Constellation. Multicrew ships should be the way of the future, as well as the great equalizer in skill between players. Star Citizen, as it stands right now, has no room for bad or average players, and a lot of this comes down to there being no viable combat option other than the light fighter, which is a very skill-demanding class of ship. The more I see people complaining about PDCs, the more I think they are good for the game, and passing them around to various non-combat ships as well as other larger combat ships would go a long way in culling the light fighter menace which has plagued Star Citizen for far too long. And, as far as I am concerned, the only threat to a capital ship should be another capital ship or a swarm of heavy fighters. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and remember, If something upsets the hardcore PvP or PvE players, it's probably a good change for the overall health of the game.